All right, so I'm going to pose a hypothetical. First, I'm going to give some information. Danbury Public Schools remain in fully remote learning mode until at least after the Thanksgiving break.
How come you're talking so soft?
I don't know. The decision was made after Danbury officials reported 76 new coronavirus cases on Tuesday. So you are, this is the hypothetical, governor of the state of Connecticut, as you should have been.
Right.
I need a 3-month plan to get everything in order with COVID and get us back to work. Physically, everybody back to work. What would you do?
Wow, that's a great question. I'll have to go to my notes to look at my 3-month plan. But I would say that, first of all, I would have made all schools go back K through 5 only, and distance learning for middle school and high school, and slowly phase them in depending on what the infection rate was. I would let gyms stay open. In fact, I would order gyms to stay open 24/7 because people are losing their minds, and we know that gyms have very low transmission rates, and so people can work out. I would have stuck with the 9:30 curfew, if you will, on restaurants and trying to limit people going out. And I would figure out a way to allow small businesses to access funding to be able to make up the difference of all the money that they've been losing. And finally, I would try to mandate some kind of mask program statewide and be serious about it and implement it until we have a vaccine, which is coming. I just heard the vaccine is coming. We're going to have to wait this thing out.
Yeah, I heard the vaccine. There was an audio clip from one of the experts this morning that said there is one side effect. It says you have, the only way they can describe it is an extreme hangover. So that's
yes, that is true. For you, that should be no problem.
Yeah,
but
no.
For the rest of us, that might be a little bit of a challenge. It also makes your head grow extremely large.
I'm very familiar with these hangovers. In fact, I'm going to get hammered when I take the vaccine.
That's great.
Now, that's the way to do it, right?
Huh?
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, if you're going to do it up. The restaurant thing is so tough. You mentioned in your plan that you actually agree with the governor on the 9:30 curfew. Now, whenever we mention this over here, what people will say is, what is the virus grow legs at night? Explain a little bit more.
What happens at 9:30 is that, most people in Connecticut don't go out to dinner at 9:30, 10. I know you're going to get flooded with calls going, hey, man, I don't eat till 10 p.m. Okay, fine. You're the exception. So we know that generally a lot of these restaurants turn into nightclubs, or maybe they're a nightclub masquerading as a restaurant that really gets cranked up at around 10 o'clock. So that's the problem, right? And after 10 o'clock, people lose their inhibitions. Maybe they've had a couple of drinks. They take their mask off. They get closer to people. And that's where we see a lot of transmission and a lot of spread. So it's, I know everybody's going, what happens? Does the disease get bad after, why is it any different before 9:30? It's human behavior that changes after 9:30, not the virus.
Did they say it like that?
I hear that a lot. Okay. So maybe I'm getting a little cynical as we've been going on.
Yeah.
This is like Noah and the Ark, right? So it's like 4,000 years we've been sitting here. But
to your point last week, you mentioned it's a few rotten apples spoiling the whole batch, really messing it up for these other restaurants, and that they turn into these nightclubs that just simply don't do anything. No masks, no social distancing, partying, dancing on the tables, all this stuff. And it's really screwing everybody else up. And you said last week that you would give more latitude to the public health directors or inspectors to go in and say, when you see it, this is not okay. You're in a lot of trouble. And then the other folks would be able to stay open later if they were running a legitimate restaurant.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And give these health directors the tools through the executive order to put the chains in the door and lock them up. I mean, the problem is we have visited, and I'm not going to mention names, but certain establishments in Danbury 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. And every time we get yes to death, and then we leave, and then there's video being sent over of somebody dancing on the table, right? So they'll yes you to death, but they're not going to follow the guidance. They just, it's not part of their business plan, and they don't care, or it's not really a philosophical thing. It's more just a straight desperation that they've got to keep the doors open and they'll do anything to do it. Well, you're going to kill somebody doing that. And so if we could, if we had a lot stronger language in the executive orders that would allow our health director to go in there and go, okay, like you just said, this is not cool. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to bring the cops over, we're chaining the doors. I mean, because you can't do that right now. You got to go through a whole rigmarole, and then you got to get an injunction. You got to go to court. Courts aren't open. Judges roll their eyes. They don't want to deal with this. It's a real pain in the neck. But we waste so much time going out to the same spots over and over and over again. And, when people email me, I tell them the same thing. Don't go there. If you're not comfortable, leave. Tell the manager why you're leaving. Don't stay there. Nobody likes a narc.